Monday, and it's a time for another episode of Righties Rage. Now, Saturday, June 14th, Donald Trump had a birthday, and he wanted a massive military parade. The military parade turned out not the way he wanted it because America has spoken with a massive protest. It says all he wanted was to celebrate his 79th birthday with a massive military parade that made him look powerful, scary, beloved. But instead, thousands to millions of Americans and their wonderful First Amendment rights. He got a massive spending, dull parade overshadowed by massive nationwide protests denouncing there are no kings in America. Well, it's Monday, and of course, the best thing you could do was get out of town. It just happens to be lucky that it's the G7 summit. So it's a good way for Donald Trump to get out of D.C., where he doesn't have to lower his head because America made him look stupid. So now he can go and try to flex his muscles at the G7 summit, which I hope he do because I live in America. So we do want him to do well. Don't get me wrong. We still want our president to make United States look great. We want our president to make the United States look like the United States, the best country in the world. We don't want him messing up. We don't want him effing it up. We don't want him letting his pride ruin what could make United States great again. All we have to do is keep the far right in check. So Donald Trump is at the G7 summit, and he's about to meet with Canada's Prime Minister, Carney. And welcome back to Righties Rage. I thank you for coming.
Here's how a doctor treats toenail fungus without a prescription. If your toenail fungus came back after using tea tree, Vicks, or a
happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7, and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States, many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. I'm very much looking forward to the meeting. I'm grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And we have a whole group of people, some traders and some other people. I see my top economy people. But we have a very talented group of people, and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago, but it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8, and now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake. Even though I wasn't in politics then, I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia, and he's no longer at the table, so it makes life more complicated. But you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot, and I expect to. And I think our primary focus will be trade, and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so much. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, holding up a deal with Canada?
Say it.
What is holding up a deal with Canada from your perspective?
It's not so much holding up. I think we have different concepts. I have a tariff concept, and Mark has a different concept, which is something that some people like. But we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it today. I'm a tariff person. I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good. So we're going to look at both, and we're going to see what we're going to come out with something. Hopefully.
Do you think a deal is achievable within days, within weeks? Is there that kind of runway?
Yeah, it's achievable. Both parties have to agree. Yeah, sure.
Mr. President, have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about that.
And you mentioned Putin. Do you think that he should have a seat at the G7 today, that it should be the G8?
I'm not saying he should at this point, because too much water's gone over the dam, maybe. But it was a big mistake. Obama didn't want him, and the head of your country, the proud head of your country, didn't want him. This was a big mistake. You wouldn't have that war. You know, you have your enemy at the table. Even I don't even consider him. He wasn't really an enemy at that time. There was no concept. If I were president, this war would have never happened. But likewise, if he were a member of what was called the G8 at that time, it was always the G8. You wouldn't have a war right now.
Why not? What Israel support and what intelligence support are you providing Israel?
We've always supported Israel. We have for a long period of time, strongly. And Israel's doing very well right now.
Why not have China at the
What do you make of
G8?
Canada's
Why not have
defense
China here, the
spending?
biggest economy in the world after the United States?
Well, it's not a bad idea. I don't mind that. If somebody wants to suggest China coming in, I think we suggest. But you want to have people that you can talk to. You know, they don't talk. Putin speaks to me. He doesn't speak to anybody else. He doesn't want to talk because he was very insulted when he got thrown out of the G8. As I would be, as you would be, as anybody would be. He was very insulted. And I mean, he was thrown out by Trudeau, who convinced one or two people, along with Obama. He was thrown out, and he's not a happy person about it, I can tell you that. He basically doesn't even speak to the people that throw him out, and I agree with him.
Well, on immigration, why are you ordering ICE to target Democratic inner cities? What's behind that?
I don't know what you're saying.
You did a post last night where you said you want ICE to really target Democratic.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what you call sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor, but the governor's probably the worst in the country, Pritzker. But I look at how that city has been overrun by criminals, and you know, New York and LA, look at LA. LA, those people weren't from LA, they weren't from California, most of those people, many of them.
This is what I'm talking about. You're at the G7 summit. Why are you talking about the issues in the United States? We want to hear you talking about how you're going to make the United States great. We're talking about what we're going to do to work with these other countries to make us the dominant country that we were. That's what you talked about. They don't know what's going on in Chicago, and they don't care. The funny thing is, I'm wondering if some of these leaders in these other countries are talking behind Donald Trump's back going, you know, his parade didn't look like Putin's parade. It didn't come close to it. You have to worry about that. They don't want to know what's going on in Chicago or LA because you're putting people out of the country. They're worried about the people you're putting out of the country coming to their country. Focus on making the United States stand out. Just like all your hats say, make America great again. You can't make it great again by talking about your problems. People don't want to hear about your issues at home. They want to know what you're doing, what we're going to do, what minerals we could share, what resources we have to gain, and they can gain from us. People don't want to hear about your problems. You're on the world stage. Talk about the United States.
Those people, and yeah, that's a focus. Biden allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Of that, vast numbers of those people were murderers, killers, people from gangs, people from jails. They emptied their jails out into the U.S. Most of those people are in the cities, all blue cities, all Democrat-run cities, and they think they're going to use them to vote. It's not going to happen.
That's it. Thank you. If you don't mind, I'm going to exercise my role, if you will, as G7 chair, since we have a few more minutes with the president and his team, and then we actually have to start the meeting to address some of these big issues. So
Thank you. Thank you, media. Let's go. Up. Thank you. That's it. That's it. Thank you very much. Out. Go, guys. Out. Thank you. Katie, let's go.
If you saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. And President...
Thank you. It's like, let's get him out of here. Thank you. He's pretty sad about his parade. Let's move on. Please move on. Keep it going. Oh my goodness. And you're going to have the thousands of King Trump channels that's going to talk about how the parade was wonderful and everything else. And again, they don't understand the concept. You're talking about how the parade was great for Trump, but it was the military's anniversary. They would really rarely say anything about it was great, the military enjoyed it and everything. No, they'll talk about how it was Trump's birthday and it was his military parade. That shows you the amount of care and empathy that he doesn't show for the people that's helping keep our United States safe, so that we're not speaking Japanese or German or Russian. He's talking about himself. And again, because of all the millions and millions of people, like The Rock said, the millions and millions of people that came out to denounce that there are no kings in the United States. We have presidents and we have democracy. And on Saturday, democracy won. Because there was protests in every state, every city in the United States. That's not happy people. So let's hope he don't embarrass us on the world stage at the G7 summit. Stop talking about the United States issues because people don't want to care. Every leader in there has issues of their own in their own countries. They don't want to know what's happening in Chicago. They don't want to know what's happening in LA. You want to go to the G summit. You want to talk to these other countries so you can see what type of resources, what people don't understand. The tariffs, in one way, they are a good thing. But what Donald Trump fails to understand is the reason our forefathers started the trades with other countries is because, and I'm going to tell y'all this, and I'm going to get close to the mic because I don't want anybody else to know, but the reason our forefathers started the trade with other countries is because we want to use their resources first before we use the United States. I know people can say, we have timber in the United States. We have plenty of trees. California has some of the largest trees and timber in the world. Why are we buying lumber from other countries? Why are we buying steel? Why are we buying minerals, oil? Because we want to use their resources up first. And then United States will be the last one standing. It's like Walking Dead. This is not algebra. It's a simple math. We want to use up their resources first so that when things eventually go down, United States will still have the resources to support all of our wonderful citizens. So, the military parade was horrible. The army, your equipment, beautiful. Your technology, outstanding. I appreciate each and every one of our soldiers. I appreciate the people that come up with the technology to keep them alive, to make United States great. You probably won't hear that from the far right because they'll keep talking about their king and dictator, Mr. Trump. Let's hope he can get past this, and I don't think he can because it's only been 2 days since his terrible birthday surprise. He got a surprise party from the United States of America and all the Democratic people by protesting. Happy surprise party! No kings in America. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't release any balloons. It's bad for the weather, they say. Now, this is Righties Rage. And if you're down with me, subscribe, share, and I will see you next time. Peace out. Remember, up here, we see things differently. Daily Reactions.